The massive alien ship appeared on every screen across Earth's orbital defense network. Its dark hull stretched for miles, covered in weapons that could destroy entire cities. Admiral Sarah Chun stood on the bridge of Defense Station Olympus, watching as more alien ships emerged from the void. They came in perfect lines, like soldiers marching to war. The communication system crackled to life. A face appeared on the main screen that made Chun's blood run cold. The creature had scales instead of skin, yellow eyes that glowed like fire, and teeth sharp enough to cut steel. This was Admiral Zektar of the Kethran hegemony. Humans of Earth. The alien spoke in perfect English, though his voice sounded like gravel grinding against metal. I am Admiral Zektar. You will surrender your planet within 1 solar rotation, or we will take it by force. Chun felt her hands tighten into fists, but she kept her face calm. Around her, the bridge crew watched in silence. She could see fear in some of their eyes, but also something else. Anger was building like a storm. We have studied your species for 47 of your years, Zektar continued. We know everything about you. Your strengths, your weaknesses, your military tactics, your psychological breaking points. The alien leaned forward, his scaled lips pulling back to show those terrible teeth. Our war computers have run every possible scenario. When battle begins, human resistance will collapse in 4.7 hours. Your emotional instability will be your downfall. Your lack of unity will destroy you. Your tendency to panic under pressure will make this conquest swift. Behind Zektar, Chun could see dozens of other alien faces. 7 different species, all working together. The Kethrans with their scales and claws. The insect-like Vorthik with their compound eyes. The floating ethereals who looked like jellyfish made of light. All of them had conquered other worlds. All of them believed humans would be easy prey. We have defeated species far more advanced than yours, Zektar said. The Altarians lasted 6 hours. The Centauri Federation held out for 8. The proud warriors of Kepler Prime fought for 12 hours before they begged for mercy. You will not even reach 4. Chun stepped forward to the communication panel. This is Admiral Sarah Chun of Earth Defense Command. I have a message for you, Zektar. The alien's eyes narrowed. Speak your final words, human. Go to hell. Chun cut the transmission. The bridge fell silent for a moment. Then, Lieutenant Rodriguez at the weapons station started to chuckle. The sound spread across the bridge like wildfire. Soon, half the crew was laughing. Did you see his face when you said that? Rodriguez asked, wiping tears from his eyes. Ma'am, called out Communications Officer Park from her station. I'm getting similar responses from all defense platforms. Captain Torres on the Indomitable told them to kiss his ass. Commander Wright on the Valkyrie asked if they wanted to dance. Chun smiled grimly. This was exactly what the aliens didn't understand about humans. They thought fear would break them. Instead, it was making them angry. And angry humans were the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. What's our fleet status? Chun asked. 156 ships, Admiral, reported Commander Jackson from Tactical. 37 heavy cruisers, 64 destroyers, 43 frigates, and 12 assault carriers. We're outnumbered more than 5 to 1. And there's 847 ships, all bigger than ours. Better armed, better shielded. On paper, we shouldn't last 10 minutes. Chun walked to the main viewport. Outside, she could see the lights of human ships taking defensive positions. Each one carried hundreds of men and women who had volunteered to stand between Earth and its enemies. They knew they were outgunned. They knew they might die. But none of them were running. Jackson sent a message to all ships. Open channel. Channel open, Admiral. Chun picked up the microphone. Across the defense fleet, her voice would be heard by every human sailor, soldier, and pilot ready to fight. This is Admiral Chun. In about an hour, we're gonna be in the fight of our lives. The enemy thinks they know us. They think we'll panic. They think we'll break. They think we're just another species to be conquered and enslaved. She paused, looking out at the stars where human ships waited in the darkness. They're wrong. They studied our military manuals, but they never understood what it means to be human. They looked at our weaknesses, but they missed our strength. They think we're just another prey species. Her voice grew harder, filled with iron determination. Today, they learn what happens when you threaten Earth. Today, they learn that humans don't just fight to survive. We fight to win. We don't just defend our homes. We destroy our enemies. And we don't surrender ever. Across the fleet, crews cheered. The sound echoed through ship corridors and bridge speakers. On 1,000 different screens, human faces looked back at her with fierce determination. The enemy says we'll collapse in hours. Let's show them what we can do in minutes. All ships, prepare for battle. Make them pay for every inch of space. Make them remember this day. Make them fear the name human for the rest of their miserable lives. Chun set down the microphone. Around her, the bridge crew was already moving with practiced efficiency. Weapons charged. Shields powered up. Navigation plotted attack courses dot in the distance. The alien fleet began to move. 847 ships of death coming to destroy everything humans had built. They came with confidence, expecting easy victory. They had no idea what was waiting for them. "Admiral," Jackson called out. "Enemy fleet will be in weapons range in 57 minutes. "Good," Chun replied, her eyes fixed on the approaching armada. "That gives us time to show them exactly how wrong their computers were about humanity." The countdown to battle had begun. And Admiral Zektar was about to learn that humans had never read the manual on how prey species were supposed to behave. Admiral Zektar stood in the command center of his flagship, the Dominion's Edge. Around him, holographic displays showed the perfect formation of his fleet. 847 ships moved through space like a deadly dance, each vessel exactly where it should be. This was how the Kethran hegemony had conquered 43 worlds. Order, precision, overwhelming force. "Admiral," reported his tactical officer, a tall Vorthik whose insect eyes glittered in the blue light of the displays. "Human fleet maintains defensive positions around their orbital stations. They show no signs of retreat." Zektar's lips curled back in what his species called a smile. "Of course they do not retreat. They cannot. Fear has frozen them in place, just as our models predicted." He walked to the central display, where Earth hung like a blue jewel surrounded by tiny dots of light. Those dots were human ships, pitifully few against his armada. The war computers had already calculated the outcome. Human morale would break within the first hour of combat. Their ships would scatter. Their resistance would crumble. "Begin psychological warfare protocol," Zektar ordered. "Let them see our power before we crush them." Across the alien fleet, massive ships began to power up their weapons. Energy readings spiked as plasma cannons charged. Shield generators hummed to life. The display of force was meant to terrify any enemy into surrender. On the human side, things looked very different. Captain Marcus Torres stood on the bridge of the destroyer Indomitable, watching the alien light show with cold eyes. His ship was one of the smallest in the human fleet, but his crew had served together for 5 years. They knew each other's thoughts, each other's moves. "Pretty fireworks," commented his weapons officer, Lieutenant Commander Sarah Kim. "Think they're trying to scare us?" "Working real well," laughed Chief Petty Officer Martinez from the engineering station. "I'm so scared I might just ram one of those big ships to make the fear stop." The bridge crew chuckled. Torres smiled grimly. The aliens had studied human military doctrine, but they had missed something important. They understood human tactics, but not human culture. They knew how humans fought wars, but not why Torres activated the ship's internal communication system. All hands, this is the captain. In about 40 minutes, we're going into battle against impossible odds. The enemy has bigger ships, more weapons, and stronger shields. They think that means they've already won. He paused, looking around his bridge at faces that showed no fear, only determination. But they never served on a human ship. They never learned that we don't fight because we have the best odds. We fight because it's the right thing to do. They never learned that humans get stronger when things get worse, not weaker. Across his ship, men and women nodded and prepared their stations. In the engine room, Chief Martinez pushed the fusion reactors beyond their normal limits. In the weapon base, teams loaded every missile and prepared every gun. In the medical bay, doctors and nurses set up for casualties they hoped wouldn't come. Meanwhile, on other human ships throughout the fleet, similar scenes played out. On the heavy cruiser Washington, Captain Janet Pierce told her crew stories of her grandfather who had fought in the Pacific War. On the frigate Spartacus, Commander David Chun led his crew in an ancient war song his grandmother had taught him. On the assault carrier Yorktown, pilots prepared their fighters while sharing jokes that would have made civilians cry. This was what the aliens didn't understand. To them, war was about calculation and fear. To humans, it was about family and defiance. Admiral Zektar reviewed his battle plan one final time. The first wave would target human command ships, trying to break their communication network. The second wave would destroy their heavy weapons platforms. The third wave would hunt down scattered survivors. It was the same plan that had worked on dozens of other worlds. Admiral called his communications officer, an ethereal whose voice sounded like wind chimes. "We are receiving music from the human fleet." "Music?" Zektar turned in confusion. "Yes, sir. Multiple frequencies. Different songs from different ships. Our translators identify them as battle hymns, war songs, fighting music from throughout human history." Zektar's scaled brow furrowed. This was not in any of their psychological profiles. Defeated species didn't sing. They begged. They pleaded. They offered tribute and surrender. "Lock the transmissions," he ordered. "Sir, they are not transmitting to us. They are singing to each other." On human ships across the defensive line, the songs continued. Old warriors' ballads from Earth's bloody history. Marching songs from forgotten wars. Battle hymns that had been sung by soldiers for thousands of years. The aliens heard only noise, but to human ears, it was the sound of their species preparing for war. Back on Defense Station Olympus, Admiral Chun watched her fleet's final preparations. Supply ships moved between the larger vessels, delivering last-minute ammunition and supplies. Medical ships positioned themselves for emergency rescues. Fighter squadrons ran final checks on their weapons. "Admiral," reported Commander Jackson. "All ships report ready for battle. Crews are at full combat stations. Any word from Earth Command?" "Yes, ma'am." Message from the Secretary General. "Give them hell." Chung nodded. That was humanity in 3 words. When faced with overwhelming force, when outnumbered and outgunned, when death seemed certain, humans didn't surrender. They decided to make the enemy pay as high a price as possible. "Jackson, what's our current tactical assessment?" "Enemy fleet in perfect formation. Standard Kethram battle doctrine. They'll probably try to break our communications first, then target our heavy ships. Very predictable." "Good. Predictable is what we want. Send a message to all ship captains. When the shooting starts, throw out the manual. Use whatever tactics feel right. Confuse them. Make them react to us instead of following their plan. Chun walked to the main viewport again. In the distance, she could see the glow of alien engines as they approached. 800 ships of death, coming to destroy her world and enslave her people. But they've made one critical error. They thought they were fighting human ships. They were wrong. They were fighting human crews. And human crews didn't know how to quit. Time to enemy weapons range? Chun asked. 18 minutes, Admiral. Then let's give them 18 minutes they'll never forget. The first shot came at exactly 14:37 GMT. A massive plasma lance from the Kethran flagship reached across space and struck the human cruiser Defiance. The ship's shields flared bright blue, absorbed the hit, and held firm. Enemy has opened fire, reported Commander Jackson from his tactical station. All ships are responding. Admiral Chun watched the tactical display as 800 alien ships began their attack. Plasma beams, energy torpedoes, and particle cannons lit up space like deadly fireworks. The alien formation was perfect, their targeting precise. Their tactics exactly what every military computer had predicted, for exactly 7 minutes and 12 seconds. The battle went according to Kethran plans. Then Captain Torres of the Indomitable did something that broke every rule in the space combat manual. Instead of maintaining formation and trading long-range fire with the enemy, he turned his destroyer toward the largest Kethran battleship and pushed his engines to maximum speed. What is he doing? Admiral Zektar demanded from his command center. His tactical computers were showing something impossible. A tiny human ship was charging directly at his heaviest vessel, the Dreadnought Crusher. Sir, his tactical officer clicked in confusion. The human ship appears to be attacking. One small ship against a dreadnought? Are they malfunctioning? Have they lost control of their vessel? On the Indomitable, Captain Torres had not lost control. He had found it. His crew worked with the efficiency of a machine, every person knowing exactly what to do. Chief Martinez in engineering rerouted power from life support to engines. Lieutenant Kim at weapons armed every missile they carried. Navigation Officer Park plotted a course that would bring them alongside the alien ship at point-blank range. Captain, Kim reported, we're in their weapons range. They're targeting us with everything they have. Shields holding, Martinez called out as alien fire hammered their defenses. But not for long at this range. Torres smiled. That's the point. They think we're trying to survive this attack. They're wrong. We're trying to win it. All weapons, fire on my mark. The Indomitable dove under the massive alien ship like a fighter attacking a bomber. At point-blank range, human weapons tore into the Dreadnought's lower hull. Armor plating that could stop long-range fire crumpled under close-range assault. Missiles punched through shields that had been designed to deflect distant attacks. But Torres wasn't done. Martinez, prepare the fusion core for emergency overload. Sir? The chief engineer's voice was calm, but the question was clear. An overloaded fusion core meant certain death for everyone aboard. You heard me. Chief, if we're going down, we're taking them with us. Across the human fleet, other captains were reaching the same conclusion. This wasn't a battle where they could afford to play it safe. If they fought by the rules, they would lose. So they decided to throw out the rules entirely. Captain Pierce on the Washington led a charge of 3 heavy cruisers directly into the center of the alien formation. Instead of the careful maneuvering that space combat doctrine required, she ordered her ships to attack like ancient cavalry. Weapons blazing, engines screaming, they crashed into the alien lines and started destroying everything within reach. Admiral Zektar watched his perfect formation dissolve into chaos. What are they doing? This makes no sense. They are sacrificing themselves for minimal tactical gain. His tactical computers couldn't process what they were seeing. Every military doctrine said that ships should preserve themselves while inflicting damage on the enemy. Cost-benefit analysis demanded careful consideration of losses versus gains. But humans weren't following any doctrine the computers understood. Commander, right on the frigate Spartacus rammed his ship into an alien cruiser, using his vessel as a guided missile. The impact destroyed both ships, but it also opened a hole in the enemy formation that 3 other human vessels exploited. On the assault carrier Yorktown, fighter pilots launched in waves that confused every enemy sensor. Instead of the careful formations that fighter doctrine required, they attacked in swarms. Some dove straight at enemy ships without regard for their own safety. Others used their small fighters to screen the larger vessels. A few pilots, running out of missiles, used their fighters as weapons and rammed enemy gun turrets. "This is impossible," Zektar's tactical officer reported. "Our computers cannot predict their next moves. They are not following any logical pattern." Admiral Chung watched the battle unfold on her tactical screens. Human ships were taking heavy losses, but they were also doing something the enemy hadn't expected. They were winning. "Ma'am," Jackson reported, "enemy formation is breaking apart. They're trying to reorganize, but our ships keep hitting them from unexpected angles." The key was human unpredictability. The aliens had studied human military doctrine, but doctrine assumed you were trying to preserve your forces for future battles. These humans were fighting as if this was the last battle that would ever matter. Captain Torres brought the Indomitable alongside the alien dreadnought one final time. His ship was dying, shields gone, hull breached in a dozen places. But his crew was still fighting. "Martinez, is that overload ready?" "Yes, sir." "Fusion core set to detonate in 30 seconds on your command." "Good." "Kim, one final missile spread. Put everything we have left into their engine room." The last of the Indomitable's missiles slammed into the alien ship's engine section. Explosions rippled along the dreadnought's hull. Then Torres gave the command that ended both ships. "Martinez, execute overload." "All hands, it's been an honor." The Indomitable's fusion core exploded like a miniature star. The blast tore through both ships and sent shock waves that damaged 3 other alien vessels nearby. In 30 seconds, Captain Torres and his crew had eliminated more enemy ships than some battles destroyed in hours. Similar scenes played out across the battle. Human ships that should have retreated when damaged instead pressed their attacks. Crews that should have panicked under fire instead found new ways to hurt the enemy. Tactics that should have failed somehow worked because no one expected them. Admiral Zektar watched his fleet's casualties mount. In 12 minutes of combat, he had lost more ships than in his last 3 conquests combined. The humans weren't just resisting. They were winning. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we are receiving surrender demands from the humans." "Surrender demands? From them?" "Yes, sir." Admiral Chun states that any alien ship that powers down weapons and withdraws from the system will be allowed to leave. All others will be destroyed. Zektar's scales bristled with rage. How dare these inferior creatures offer him terms? But as he looked at his tactical display, showing alien ships burning throughout space, he began to understand something terrible, that the humans weren't fighting like prey. They were fighting like predators. And they were very, very good at it. Admiral Zektar stared at his tactical display in growing horror. Red symbols marked destroyed ships throughout his fleet. In 14 minutes of combat, the humans had eliminated over 200 Kethran vessels. This was supposed to be a quick conquest, not a slaughter of his own forces. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Our ships are superior in every way." His tactical officer, Dvorthak named Kliktar, studied the battle reports with compound eyes that showed fear for the first time in his military career. "Admiral, The humans are not fighting according to any known doctrine. They sacrifice their ships for minimal tactical advantage. They ram our vessels instead of using proper weapons. They detonate their own cores as weapons. That is suicide, not tactics. Yes, sir. But it is working. On the human side, the impossible was becoming routine. Captain Pierce on the Washington had lost her shields and half her weapons, but she kept fighting. When her main guns failed, she used her ship's mining lasers. When those burned out, she rammed enemy frigates with her armored bow. "Ma'am," reported her weapons officer, "we're down to emergency ammunition. Missiles depleted, energy cells at 15%. "Then we get creative," Pierce replied. She opened a channel to her engineering team. "Chief Rodriguez, can you overload the waste recycling system?" "The toilets, ma'am?" "Everything. If it can't explode, make it explode. If it can't explode, find a way to make it hurt when we throw it at them." This was the human factor the aliens had never understood. When proper weapons failed, humans improvised. When tactics didn't work, they invented new ones on the spot. When death seemed certain, they decided to make it count. Admiral Chun watched the battle from Defense Station Olympus. Her fleet was taking losses, but they were winning. Human ships burned throughout space, but for every human vessel destroyed, 3 alien ships died with them. "Admiral," Commander Jackson reported, "we're receiving communications from civilian ships. They want to join the fight." "Civilian ships?" "Yes, ma'am. Cargo haulers, passenger liners, even some mining vessels. They're asking for weapons and permission to attack." Chun felt a fierce pride burn in her chest. This was humanity at its core. When their home was threatened, everyone became a warrior. "Negative on the weapons," she replied. "But if any civilian vessel wants to assist with rescue operations or emergency supplies, they have my permission." Within minutes, dozens of civilian ships were racing toward the battle zone. Cargo haulers began picking up survivors from destroyed human vessels. Passenger liners converted their medical bays into emergency hospitals. Even tourist cruise ships joined the effort, their crews treating wounded sailors and ferrying supplies to damaged warships. Admiral Zektar watched this new development with growing confusion. Now their non-military vessels are entering the combat zone. Are they attempting to evacuate? "No, sir," his sensor operator replied. "They appear to be helping their military vessels continue fighting." This broke every rule of warfare the aliens knew. Civilian populations were supposed to flee from battle, not join it. Non-combatants should demand their military surrender to protect them, not offer support that prolonged the fighting. "Sir," Kliktar reported, "I am detecting massive energy spikes from the human defense stations." Admiral Chun had been waiting for this moment. The orbital defense platforms had weapons that could change the entire battle, but they took time to charge. Now, as the alien fleet focused on fighting her mobile forces, the platforms were finally ready. "All defense stations," she broadcast. "Execute Protocol 7. Around Earth orbit." Massive weapons platforms that had been silent throughout the battle suddenly came alive. Energy cannons larger than anything mounted on ships began to fire. Particle beams that could crack asteroids reached out across space. Missile pods launched volleys that darkened the stars. The alien fleet, already reeling from the unexpected ferocity of human ship attacks, now faced a new threat from fixed positions they couldn't reach. The defense platforms had been designed to stop invasion fleets, and they were very good at their job. Evasive maneuvers. Zektar ordered her. "Get us out of range of those platforms." But moving away from the platforms meant moving toward the human ships, which were still attacking with suicidal determination. The aliens found themselves trapped between two forces, each one more dangerous than their computers had predicted. On the frigate Liberty, Commander Sarah Kim took over after her captain was wounded. With only emergency power and a skeleton crew, she should have withdrawn from combat. Instead, she ordered her ship to attack the alien command vessel. "Ma'am," her tactical officer protested, "we have no shields, no missiles, and main power is down. We can't damage their flagship." "Watch me," Kim replied. She ordered her ship to ram speed, aiming directly at the bridge section of Zektar's massive vessel. The Liberty was tiny compared to the alien flagship, but it was moving at maximum velocity, and every human aboard was determined to make their deaths count. Admiral Zektar watched the small human ship approach his vessel. "Destroy it. All weapons, fire on that ship." Energy beams reached out to stop the Liberty, but Commander Kim had anticipated this. She used the wreckage of destroyed ships as cover, weaving between debris and dead hulls. When alien fire finally found her ship, it was too late. The Liberty struck the Dominion's edge just below the command center. The impact sent shockwaves through the massive alien ship, knocking crew members from their stations and causing system failures throughout the vessel. Kim survived the impact barely. With her ship embedded in the enemy hull, she made one final choice that defined human warfare. "All hands, abandon ship. Set fusion core to overload." 30 seconds and counting. The crew of the Liberty evacuated into the alien ship itself, fighting hand-to-hand combat in the corridors of the enemy vessel. When their ship's core exploded, it tore a massive hole in the flagship's hull and disabled its main weapons. Admiral Zektar found himself fighting a war inside his own ship as human. Survivors from the Liberty rampaged through his corridors. This was beyond any military doctrine he knew. These humans had turned themselves into living weapons. "Sir," his communications officer reported with fear in his voice, "we are receiving reports from throughout the fleet. Human crews are abandoning damaged ships and attempting to board our vessels." "That's impossible. No one abandons ship to attack the enemy." "The humans do, sir." Zektar realized with growing terror that his species had made a fundamental error. They had studied human military tactics, but they had never understood the human spirit. They thought war was about ships and weapons and formations. Humans thought war was about will and determination and refusing to quit. And humans were very, very good at refusing to quit. "Sir," Kliktar reported, "we have lost over 400 ships. Morale throughout the fleet is collapsing. Some captains are requesting permission to withdraw." Zektar looked at his tactical display. The perfect formations he had started with were gone. His fleet was scattered, damaged, and demoralized. In 15 minutes, the humans had destroyed what it had taken him decades to build. "Signal all ships," he ordered, his voice heavy with defeat. "Prepare for withdrawal." But even as he gave the order, he knew it was too late. The humans had shown him something that would haunt him forever. They had shown him what it looked like when prey decided to become predators. At exactly 14:52 GMT, 14 minutes and 37 seconds after the first shot was fired, Admiral Zektar broadcast his surrender across all frequencies. "Human fleet," his voice was hollow, defeated. "This is Admiral Zektar of the Kethran hegemony. We surrender. Unconditionally. Please stop the attack." Admiral Chun stood on the bridge of Defense Station Olympus, watching the tactical display that showed the wreckage of what had once been the most powerful invasion fleet in known space. Of 847 alien ships that had entered the Sol system, only 312 remained. Many of those were damaged and limping away from the battle zone. "All human vessels," Chine broadcast. "Cease fire. I repeat, cease fire. The enemy has surrendered." Across the human fleet, weapons fell silent. But the crews remained at their stations, watching the alien ships with eyes that had seen too much in too short a time. They had won, but the cost was visible everywhere. 43 human ships had been destroyed. Hundreds of sailors and pilots were dead. The victory was real, but it was written in blood. Commander Jackson approached Chun's command chair. "Admiral, we're receiving messages from surviving alien captains. They're requesting safe passage out of the system." Chun nodded slowly. "Granted. Any alien ship that powers down weapons and maintains course away from Earth will not be attacked. But Jackson..." "Yes, ma'am?" "Make sure they understand. If any of them ever come back here with hostile intent, we won't just defeat them. We'll hunt down their homeworlds and show them what human vengeance looks like." The message was transmitted to the fleeing alien fleet. On ship after ship, alien commanders felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold of space. These humans had just rewritten everything they knew about warfare. Admiral Zektar sat in his damaged command center, trying to understand what had happened. His species had conquered dozens of worlds using fear, superior technology, and overwhelming force. They had studied every aspect of human society and military capability. Their computers had predicted total victory. "Admiral," Kliktar approached. "Carefully. Our analysis computers are requesting additional data to understand the battle results." "What kind of data?" "They want to know what weapon the humans used that our sensors did not detect. What secret technology allowed them to defeat us so completely?" Zektar stared at his tactical officer with exhausted eyes. "There was no secret weapon, Kliktar. No hidden technology. We lost because we never understood what we were fighting. Sir, we thought we were conquering another prey species. Instead, we awakened sleeping predators." As the Kethran fleet limped away from Earth, news of the battle spread throughout the galaxy, faster than light itself. Alien civilizations that had lived in fear of the hegemony suddenly had hope. If the small blue world could defeat the mighty Kethrans in minutes, perhaps freedom was possible after all. On Earth, the celebration was muted. Yes, they had won. But the cost was real, and everyone knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. Admiral Chun walked through the medical bay of Defense Station Olympus, visiting wounded crew members. In one bed, she found Lieutenant Rodriguez from the Indomitable. He had been one of the few survivors when Captain Torres's ship was destroyed. "How are you feeling, Lieutenant?" "Better than I should, Admiral. Doctors say I'll make a full recovery." Chum sat down beside his bed. "Tell me about Captain Torres." "About the Indomitable." Rodriguez's eyes grew distant. "He knew we were going to die, ma'am. We all knew it. But the captain said something I'll never forget. He said we weren't dying for nothing. We were dying so Earth would live, so humanity would survive." He was right. "Yes, ma'am, but it was more than that. When we rammed that alien dreadnought, when we overloaded our core, we weren't just destroying their ship. We were sending a message to every alien in that fleet. We were telling them that humans don't surrender. Ever." Chun nodded. That was exactly the message Earth had needed to send. 3 days later, the first response came from beyond Sol System. It wasn't another invasion fleet or a demand for surrender. It was a diplomatic vessel from the Galactic Council, requesting permission to enter human space for peaceful negotiations. Chun found herself in the strange position of receiving alien ambassadors who came not as conquerors, but as potential allies. The lead diplomat was a tall, graceful being called an Altarian, one of the species the Kethrans had conquered decades earlier. "Admiral Chun." The alien ambassador spoke in careful English. "I am Ambassador Telshin of the Altarian Republic in exile. We come to offer our thanks and to discuss possible cooperation between our species." "Cooperation?" "The Kethran hegemony has oppressed dozens of worlds for over a century. Your victory has given hope to enslaved populations throughout the galaxy. We wish to know if humanity would be willing to help others achieve their freedom." Chun felt the weight of the moment. Humanity had fought to defend their own world. Now they were being asked to help liberate others. Ambassador, I'm not sure Earth is ready for that kind of responsibility. We're still recovering from our own battle. Telshan's expression, as much as Chun could read alien features, seemed understanding. We do not ask for immediate action, Admiral. But the galaxy has changed. Before your victory, everyone assumed the Kethrans were invincible. Now, we know they can be defeated. What exactly are you proposing? An alliance? A sharing of knowledge and resources? Your people have shown that they excel at warfare in ways we never imagined. Our people have technologies and knowledge that could benefit Earth. Together, we might build something that can stand against any future threats. Chun considered the offer. Humanity had wanted to remain isolated, to focus on their own development. But the galaxy had found them anyway. Better to make allies now than face the next threat alone. I'll need to discuss this with my government, she said. But Ambassador, I want you to understand something about humanity. Yes, we don't fight because we love war. We fight because we love peace. If Earth agrees to help other worlds gain their freedom, it won't be because we want to conquer or control them. It will be because freedom is something every species deserves. Telshan bowed in what Chun recognized as a gesture of respect. That, Admiral, is exactly why we believe humanity might be the galaxy's best hope for lasting peace. 6 months later, the first joint human-alien task force departed Earth. Their mission: to liberate 3 worlds currently under Kethran occupation. The ships carried human crews trained in the tactics that had broken the hegemony's fleet, working alongside alien advisors who knew their enemy's weaknesses. Admiral Chun, now promoted to Fleet Admiral and commander of Earth's first interstellar navy, watched the ships disappear into hyperspace from her office on Luna Station. Commander Jackson, now her chief of staff, approached with the latest intelligence reports. Admiral, our scouts report that Kethran forces are withdrawing from 7 more systems. They're afraid to engage any force that might include human ships. Good, Chun replied. Fear keeps the peace better than weapons sometimes. Ma'am, there's something else. We're receiving requests for assistance from 18 different star systems. Word is spreading that humans will help anyone fighting for freedom. Chun smiled. The aliens had been right about one thing. Humanity was unpredictable. They had come expecting to conquer a prey species, and instead had awakened something the galaxy had never seen before. A species that fought not for conquest, but for justice. Not for glory, but for freedom. And when humans decided something was worth fighting for, they didn't know how to quit. The galaxy was about to learn what that meant for everyone.